Welcome to 10 forgotten ground beef recipes from the 1970s that have disappeared. Ever wonder what hearty dishes kept families smiling when bell-bottoms were in style and kitchens smelled like pure comfort? These aren't just meals, they're memories, flavors seniors still talk about with pride. Stick around, because each recipe is a blast from the past you won't want to miss. And hey, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment to keep these stories alive. Number 1. Beef Enchilada Casserole. What made the 1970s kitchen smell like pure comfort? Seniors still grin when they talk about the beef enchilada casserole, a dish that turned ordinary ground beef into something downright unforgettable. Imagine layers of tortillas, beef, and sauce bubbling away in the oven, filling the house with a spicy, cheesy aroma that had kids racing to the table. Folks back then called it weeknight magic because it was cheap, hearty, and could feed a crowd without breaking the bank. That first bite was bold and saucy, the beef soaking up every ounce of flavor, a taste tied to family gatherings, laughter, and the pride of stretching $1. The beef enchilada casserole wasn't just food, it was a memory, a reminder of how families made the simplest ingredients feel like a feast. Number 2. Beef and bean burrito bake. What dish had folks in the 1970s saying, "Now that's a belly buster"? Seniors remember the beef and bean burrito bake as the kind of meal that could stretch across a whole family table. Ground beef mixed with beans, tucked into tortillas and baked under a blanket of sauce and cheese. It was hearty, filling, and downright satisfying. Some called it south of the border comfort. Others swore it was the best way to feed hungry kids after ball practice. That first forkful was smoky and rich, beans giving it weight, while the beef carried the flavor, a taste tied to Friday nights, laughter, and the pride of turning simple pantry staples into something that felt special. The beef and bean burrito bake wasn't just supper. It was a memory of how families made ordinary ingredients sing with flavor and fun. Number 3. Beef stuffed peppers. Which dish made dinner tables in the 1970s look downright colorful and hearty? Seniors still talk about beef stuffed peppers, bright bell peppers packed with seasoned ground beef, rice, and a splash of tomato sauce. It wasn't just a meal, it was a showpiece, the kind of dish that made folks say, "Now that's supper worth sitting down for." Some families called it Sunday pride food. Others swore it was the best way to stretch beef while keeping it wholesome. That first bite was juicy and savory, the pepper's sweetness blending with the rich beef filling, a taste tied to family gatherings, church potlucks, and the pride of serving something that looked fancy even when money was tight. Beef stuffed peppers weren't just food. They were a memory of resilience, creativity, and the joy of turning simple ingredients into something unforgettable. Number 4. Sloppy Joe's Pie. In the 1970s, families knew how to turn a messy favorite into something that looked downright special. The Sloppy Joe's Pie. Ground beef simmered in tangy sauce was tucked beneath a golden crust, transforming a humble sandwich, filling into a dish that felt like a celebration. Seniors recall how the smell of that bubbling pie pulled everyone straight to the kitchen, a reminder that even simple beef could be dressed up with flair. Some folks called it weeknight showstopper. Others swore it was the best way to stretch leftovers into something worth bragging about. That first slice was saucy and rich, the crust soaking up every drop, a taste tied to laughter around the table and the pride of making ordinary food feel extraordinary. Sloppy Joe's pie wasn't just dinner. It was a memory of creativity, comfort, and the joy of turning everyday beef into a dish that still makes people smile. Number 5, beef and potato casserole. Back in the 1970s, this dish was the kind of stick-to-your-ribs comfort food that made families feel full and satisfied even on tight budgets. Seniors recall how ground beef was layered with sliced potatoes, onions, and a creamy sauce, baked until the whole kitchen smelled like pure home-style goodness. Some folks nicknamed it meat and taters magic. Others swore it was the best way to stretch a pound of beef into a meal that could feed everyone at the table. That first bite was hearty and rich, the potatoes soaking up the savory juices from the beef, a flavor tied to long evenings, family chatter, and the pride of making something simple taste like a feast. Beef and potato casserole wasn't just dinner, it was a memory of resilience, creativity, and the joy of turning everyday staples into a dish that still warms hearts today. Number 6, hamburger gravy over mashed potatoes. In the 1970s, this dish was the kind of stick-to-your-ribs comfort food that made folks feel downright spoiled, even when money was tight. Seniors recall how ground beef was browned, simmered into a rich gravy, and poured over a mountain of mashed potatoes that soaked up every drop. Some families called it country diner at home. Others swore it was the best way to turn a pound of beef into a meal that felt like pure satisfaction. That first spoonful was creamy and savory, the potatoes blending perfectly with the beefy gravy, a taste tied to long evenings, family chatter, and the pride of making something simple taste like a feast. Hamburger gravy over mashed potatoes wasn't just dinner. It was a memory of resilience, creativity, and the joy of turning everyday staples into a dish that still warms hearts today. Number 7, Porcupine Meatballs. In the 1970s, this dish had folks grinning because it was clever, hearty, and downright fun to eat. Seniors recall how ground beef was mixed with rice, rolled into meatballs, and simmered in tomato sauce until the rice poked out like little quills, giving them the nickname Porcupine Meatballs. Families loved serving them at weeknight dinners, calling them kid pleasers, because the name alone sparked excitement. That first bite was tender and savory, the beef soaking up the tangy sauce while the rice added texture, a flavor tied to laughter around the table and the pride of turning simple pantry staples into something memorable. Porcupine meatballs weren't just food. They were a playful reminder of how creativity in the kitchen could turn ordinary beef into a dish that still makes seniors smile when they think back. Number 8, Tater Tot Casserole. In the 1970s, this dish was the kind of crowd pleaser that made families feel like they were eating something fun and filling all at once. Seniors recall how ground beef was layered with creamy soup, vegetables, and then topped with a blanket of crispy tater tots that baked to golden perfection. Some folks nicknamed it kid-approved comfort. Others swore it was the best way to stretch beef while sneaking in veggies. That first bite was crunchy on top, savory underneath, a flavor tied to weeknight suppers, TV dinners, and the pride of serving something that looked playful but packed real substance. Tater Tot Casserole wasn't just food, it was a memory of ingenuity, laughter, and the joy of turning everyday beef into a dish that still sparks nostalgia today. Number 9, beef and cabbage skillet. This was the kind of one-pan wonder that kept 1970s families fed without fuss. Seniors recall how ground beef was browned up, then tossed with shredded cabbage, onions, and a splash of seasoning, creating a skillet meal that was hearty yet simple. Some folks nicknamed it farmhouse fuel. Others swore it was the best way to stretch beef while keeping it wholesome. That first forkful was savory and earthy, the cabbage soaking up the juices from the beef, a flavor tied to busy weeknights, quick suppers, and the pride of making something filling with just a handful of ingredients. The beef and cabbage skillet wasn't just food, it was a memory of thrift, creativity, and the joy of turning everyday staples into a dish that still sparks nostalgia today. Number 10, beef and macaroni skillet. This was the kind of dish that made 1970s kitchens feel like pure comfort zones. Seniors recall how ground beef was browned and tossed with elbow macaroni, tomato sauce, and a sprinkle of cheese, creating a skillet meal that was quick, filling, and downright satisfying. Some families nicknamed it weeknight lifesaver. Others swore it was the best way to feed a hungry crowd without fuss. That first spoonful was tangy and hearty, the beef blending perfectly with the pasta, a flavor tied to busy evenings, laughter around the table, and the pride of making something simple taste like a feast. The beef and macaroni skillet wasn't just food, it was a memory of thrift, creativity, and the joy of turning everyday staples into a dish that still sparks nostalgia today. And that's a wrap on 10 forgotten ground beef recipes from the 1970s that have disappeared. These weren't just suppers, they were memories, flavors that carried families through tough times and left seniors smiling with pride. Which recipe hit you with the most nostalgia? Drop it in the comments, because every story keeps this legacy alive. And hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep cooking up history together.